So Andy Cohen revealed in a new interview on The View that this next part of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion is all about Erika Jayne. And he also weighs in on Dorit Kemsley's recent home invasion. Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So as you know, Andy Cohen has been out in these streets trying to rebuild the Real Housewives franchise. And when I say rebuild, look, we know the franchise is far from over. You know, this past week, they just announced the Real Housewives of Dubai. If you missed that video where we talk about how problematic that choice is, you might have a different feeling about Dubai. But as you know, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has been the prize-winning city for the franchise right now, with the highest ratings across the board, along with Potomac, but even bigger than Potomac. They had a 4-part reunion where a lot of you are saying it's not necessary. And to be honest with you, based on what we've seen so far, it isn't necessary. It really has not been necessary. It's been a lot of fluff. But according to Andy, during his recent stop by The View, he says, no, this last part is going to be full of Erika Jayne. But before we get to that, he was asked about the most recent news about Dorit Kemsley and the home invasion. As you know, we've covered that story. Dorit has since jumped right back into work. She thanked all her fans on her social media. I'll post the link to all of those details in the description of this video. But when asked about this, you know, a lot of people were speculating, was this for a storyline? Was this for insurance? Look, we don't know. But based on Andy's response to this, it was a little awkward. It was a little awkward. Take a listen.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. How's she doing?
You know, by all accounts, she handled this like a pro. Like, she literally dealt with it in the way that you would read about and you would want to deal with it. She made sure her kids were okay, and it's not really my story to tell but I am so impressed by what I'm hearing about how she dealt with it. And it just makes you take stock. When you hear of something like this, it just makes you take stock. And so I'm so grateful that she and her family are okay.
Is it because they knew where she lived because of the show?
That's unclear. But it happened the night that she said on the show that she pays retail for all her clothes.
Oh, gosh.
It was just interesting, his wording, that it's her story. It's her story to tell. I tell you guys, you have to pay attention sometimes when you hear some of these people in entertainment speak. They're letting you know in context clues. I'm great at context clues. That was my favorite subject when we first learned it. It's her story to tell. He's not going to allude to anything more than that because he wants you to tune in to season 12 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. In regards to Erika Jayne and her story, you remember Sunny Hostin, who's on The View, was a part of the documentary, The Housewife and the Hustler, that Andy Cohen openly said that he did not watch. He wasn't going to watch because of people like Danielle Staub and Dana Wilkie being in the documentary. But if he wasn't so ignorant and actually watched the documentary, you were introduced to the victims, to actual legal minds that were addressing some serious issues with Tom Girardi and Erika Jayne in this documentary. Especially when it involves someone you employ, you might want to watch it. You might want to watch it, Andy Cohen. Especially because it was the very first time that we actually have seen and heard the stories of some of the victims. So Sunny, who was a part of the documentary, says that she was impressed with how Andy was grilling Erika. Sunny, we get it. You have a job to do. Sometimes you just, you have a guest. You have to say certain things that you don't necessarily mean because you know for sure, as a prosecutor, that was no grilling. Because if it was a true grilling, like so many of you guys have been saying, he would have given follow-up questions. He would have been asked a little bit more, as opposed to just asking the hard question and allowing her to answer some fluff answer and then moving on to the next question. That has been everyone's big critique of Andy Cohen's questions. He did not grill her. But apparently, according to Andy Cohen, in his line of questioning with Sunny, he says that this next part, the final part of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion, is going to be all about Erika Jayne. And he says that she answers everything.
Yeah.
So I have another question about Erika Jayne.
Yes.
Because I was actually in our ABC Hulu special
Yes.
being asked about legal questions.
Yeah.
She's a Beverly Hills housewife. I now know a lot about her. She's been in the news all year.
Yeah, she has.
After her estranged husband, Tom Girardi, was accused of embezzling millions of dollars from orphans and,
Plane crash
plane crash victims.
Terrible.
Pretty terrible behavior he's being accused of.
Yes.
You grilled her during the recent reunion episodes.
Yep.
You asked her if she knew anything about what her husband is being accused of. She's denied any knowledge of it. How do you think she's handled herself?
Well, I think that there was, during the season...
Good grilling, by the way. You were like a
Thank
prosecutor.
you. Well, by the way, tomorrow night is the last part, and it's basically Erika and I for the whole hour, and I'm really grilling her for the entire hour.
Wow.
No question goes unasked, and I have to say, she answered pretty much everything.
Really?
I was impressed. She sat there, she took it, she answered everything. It was the first time she had talked about much of this on television.
That surprises me because the prosecutors are going to order the tape.
Yes. Wasn't
there another one whose husband went to jail? What's wrong?
Yes, the prosecutors have already subpoenaed unaired footage of Erika Jayne on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And you should see Andy Cohen's face. He's like, yes, they are. They already have. I'm adding that last part. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to Andy Cohen. He is in desperation mode to get this franchise back to where it was. You know the rumors about Andy Cohen allegedly being demoted. I've said to you multiple times, you're not going to see what that means, really. What that means, at least for me, is that his power over at Bravo, his power at the NBC Universal is diminishing because his franchise and the ratings have been diminishing across the board. Okay? So, of course, he's hyping it up. He's on The View. He's on multiple platforms promoting books like Not All Diamonds and Rosé. Now this other book, Glitter Every Day, full of quotes of other people. He is trying to drum up more interest in the brand, the franchise. And I mean, you can't knock his hustle. But like I said, if you're going to hype things up, at least have something to back it up with. But we're going to watch. We already watched part 1, part 2, part 3. Might as well finish it up. Maybe they really were saving, and I wouldn't be surprised because everything in between was fluff. So maybe part 4 will be a lot of information that we can divulge, dissect, and talk about. Oh, Andy, I know you think I hate you, but I don't. But when you've made yourself the face of this brand, you also put yourself out there to be criticized. The same way that people criticize Mona Scott Young, the way that they criticized her, and probably even harder, you're going to get it too. And you're definitely messier than Mona Scott Young. Well, maybe. I don't know. You let me know what you think about that in the comment section. What do you think about this possible Dorit storyline that's coming to next season about the home invasion? What do you think about what Andy Cohen had to say in regards to this last part of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion? And anything else you want to talk about? Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload.